I love your mustache.
Oh, thank you. I love your earrings.
Oh, thank you.
You told me that when I was 10, I was in a coma, but I don't remember being sick.
We're ready to forget.
Ever since then, I see crazy stuff in my dreams.
I really enjoyed the both of you in the film. You guys were my favorite part. So I think I want to start asking Ty, because, man, you've been in this franchise since you were 9 years old. How does it feel to come back now after all this time and as the protagonist?
It's a true honor to kind of take a lead role in this film. It's a very big full circle moment for me. I'm very proud of. To be a part of this universe is something that I fully never really got to appreciate until this movie, just because, as a kid, you don't really understand what's going on. And now Dalton is a fully fleshed out character that I really got to play with and have conversations with Patrick about and really just kind of find out who he is. And it was a lot of fun.
And as I said, you guys were my favorite part because I think you two have such a strong connection. How did you guys work that on the set? How was the mood on the set?
I think that we kind of just kept the levity going in between takes. So, Ty obviously had different responsibilities in this film than I did. I was allowed to kind of be in this happy state for most of it. But, sometimes after 8 hours of sitting in a dark spot, you want to crack some jokes, and I think that we just kept it kind of light on set.
No, definitely. It's always nice, as a kid, you're never really around anyone your age on set because you're so young. So this is the first time that I've really had someone, Sinclair, like, who is pretty close to my age. So it was nice to just kind of like get away and just make jokes and have someone that's right there with you, kind of as tired as you, doing the work.
Eileen, it's such a pleasure talking to you because you're a horror legend.
My ego is getting bigger and bigger. Beautiful compliments. I never considered that, but I'm grateful that people feel that way. It's
the nice thing is that from films to games like The Quarry, you have such a commitment to the genre. What makes horror so appealing to you?
I love stories, good stories, and things that jeopardize people is the way we live our lives. We are always in jeopardy of some kind, even little ones, even in the kitchen when the pot's boiling over, or whatever. So I think storytelling is a wonderful way to express all of yourself, really. I'm very proud of what I've been able to do so far.
And it wouldn't be an Insidious film without Elise in it, right? So how did your comeback came up? How did you were invited to be back on the film?
When Patrick came on as director, and I remember he called me and said, this is going to be primarily a father-son story. So there's not a whole lot, but he said, we have to have Elise in the story. It was wonderful because the fans will demand that Elise be in the story. So he tried to figure out from his perspective and with the writer, what would be a good way to include the character. I like the way they've incorporated it. And I love that final scene in the film, which for me, opens up doors to other forgive the red door. It opens up that red door, but it also opens up other color doors.
I'm going to need you to remain still. Hello?
This is your debut as a director, right? So how do you compare the experience of acting to directing? How was this transition?
I've wanted to do this for quite a while. Overall, it was amazing. It's so funny when you talk about the difference in the experience. I mean, depending on the preparation you do as an actor, and then when you shoot it on these movies, you rarely are shooting more than like 5 or 6 weeks. So it's usually pretty quick. And of course, as a director, I've been living with this movie for 4 years. So it's a little bit of a different involvement for sure.
I love working with Patrick as an actor and even, especially as a director. When you trust someone that much and you have the relationship that Patrick and I do, I really feel like that's when my best performances come out. And I truly believe that this is one of the best performances that I've given in something. So I'm insanely proud of him and what we've created together. So.
And you, Sinclair, how do you rate Patrick's work?
He's a 10 out of 10. I had a great time with Patrick. I mean, we were kind of going through similar things, that this was his directorial debut and it was my first feature film. And so
awesome.
we got to kind of connect on that level. And, you know, Patrick is an actor, so he knows how to talk to actors, which is very comforting to an actor who's, you know, starting out. So I felt very comfortable by him, which is great.
I don't know how he did it. I mean, it's really a crazy dance to both act and direct in a film. And I remember when we did shoot that one scene at the end, he was able to totally focus on story with me and on discussing the layout of the scene. And then when it was his turn to be Josh, bingo. I mean, he just was able to turn it on and off. That's a very talented man.
Patrick has spent so much time, not just with Insidious, but with James Wan on the Conjuring movies. And he and James are very close. Obviously, they worked on both Aquaman movies together. And so he's really spent a lot of time, I think, on the other side of the making of horror movies. And I really think actors make great directors generally. And so when he suggested this, we were very excited. And I think one of the best things about having him direct the movie is he was able to get members of the cast like Rose back to agree to do this movie, which we couldn't do on our own. So that was also terrific.
My brain just been foggy past few years. All I ever wanted was to be a good dad. Dalton.
And what are your influences as a director? Who work do you look upon?
I think every movie that I've ever seen is my influence. I mean, I think of bits of Mike Nichols, but I also think of Fletch. I think of Indiana Jones. I think of, I mean, I'm a child of movies and of cinema. I don't look at it as, only horror movie directors influenced me. Because I can look at, certainly in the past several years, a lot of the leading players in superhero movies come from horror movies. I mean, that's a very common thread. So for me, you know, it just shows you how this sort of supernatural, otherworldly element really fits. And you see the union between those two genres. Obviously, James is a massive influence on me just by proxy. The way that he works, the way that he uses the camera, his patience, his pacing with the camera is a big influence in me. So yeah, there's a tremendous amount, but I can look at bits and pieces of probably every director that I've worked with and see a lot of them in the work, both good and bad.
And I have a question about Blumhouse in general, because I find it fascinating that you guys have this influx of new ideas and new filmmakers at the same time that you have a lot of established franchises like Insidious, Halloween, The Exorcist. How do you balance these two kinds of films?
Well, I think Hollywood a lot of times forgets there are no franchises without originals. They have to start somewhere, right? So we have a movie coming out in January called Night Swim, which is an original. Black Phone was original. Megan was an original. And I don't say a specific percentage, but it's about 50-50. So about half the movies we make are originals and half the movies we make are sequels. And I try and keep that in the back of my head, that we never get too weighted into franchises, because then you have no new franchises. I also think there's a fun to making originals and a fun to make. I would never want to do just one or the other. I really like both. I like the creative parameters that you have, which are very different between a franchise movie and an original. So I really like to go back and forth, and I like to keep it weighted about half and half.
The further you travel, the riskier the journey becomes.